Welcome everybody, I'm DJ Chucky and we are in the mix today with an entrepreneur. I don't know how to call him. He is a promoter, entrepreneur, club owner, the creator of nightlife in Elizabeth, New Jersey. How can I introduce this man? Everybody, Eddy G. What's up?
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure being here with you guys.
Yeah, we know of each other, but we haven't had the time to sit down, and I want people to know your story because it's so inspiring. Everybody that I talk to here in Elizabeth, New Jersey, they are like, this guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, the respect that people have for you, and it's incredible. I want people to know about your story. How do you get started?
It's a long journey, believe it or not. Well, listen, if we go back from what got me into the music world, I started when I was very young. I had the dream of always being a DJ, couldn't afford an equipment. My mom was Section 8, welfare, not much hope.
Right.
And when it became very difficult for her, I used to help her sell empanadas in the corner. So I used to live in the projects,
Right.
Back in the days, there was a very heavy, presence of narcotics in that area.
Right.
But I'm like, you know what? If these guys are gonna stand in the corner and sell whatever they're gonna sell, I'm gonna sell empanadas.
That's gonna be your hustle.
That was my hustle. I chose same corner, two different decisions. My friends chose to do different things.
Well, you got customers.
I look at it like this, look at my business mind. If these guys leave their corner, then the chances are they're gonna lose customers. Well, if I stand in the corner selling the empanadas, well, I get the best of both worlds.
For sure.
And at the end of the day, everybody chose their own path, their own life. I chose to sell empanadas. At the age of 13, I saved up $1,300 and I was able to buy my first DJ equipment.
Wow.
And then after I started doing the parties, I started doing the Sweet 15 parties, and then I started renting halls. And I started realizing that the money was not in the DJ, the money was in running the venue.
The actual club.
So that opened my eyes. Fast forward to 18, I opened my first venue when I was 18 years old.
Wow. And
I've been in the business now going on, 29 years, 30 years?
Yes, and when you started, how was nightlife in here?
Oh, Elizabeth, it was typical night, small neighborhood bars, nothing major, nothing big.
So come 9 p.m., you're like going out to find something and...
9 p.m., how can I explain to you? It was more small places, corner bars, maybe places that held, 50 to 100 people, a lot of rundown places. Elizabeth was never known for nightlife. It was, it was a ghost town. After 7, 8 o'clock at night, most areas that were considered the busy areas would be, a ghost town. The only thing that kind of kept the business area moving was our Broad Street, because back then we didn't have...
Broa.
Yeah, but back then we didn't have the mall. So Broad Street was the center for retail. So when the mall opens up, then everything starts kind of, slowing down. And then a lot of spaces were picked up by, people that, were now interested in nightlife.
Yeah.
When I first started, with Palo Rumberos, that was my first nightclub. It was a salsa nightclub. And I used to play salsa and house music. So those two have always been my big, strong genres.
How did you get started? Like, who taught you how to mix, or you just saw yourself?
Well, my mom was always into salsa. And my uncle was always into house music, and he had the equipment before I was able to buy it. So when he would go dance to the Palladium, I would sneak in his room, play with the equipment, and then I'll be like, okay, he's about to come, and we put everything back exactly how it was. And he never realized I was using his equipment, but that's how I learned.
Okay.
And then after we were able to accomplish, getting this, getting the nightlife going here in Elizabeth, I started realizing that, wait a minute, there's potential here. And then 5 years later, I closed that location down and I opened up across the street, which was very famous for many years. It was called Cocobongo.
Claro.
It lasted 16 years. We had the best of the best.
So people can know Cocobongos, any artist of the time that you would think of went through there.
Yes.
Any DJ, anything that was happening, it was through Cocobongos at that time. So remember those times.
Cocobongo was incredible. We used to do a lot of live transmission. So we worked with both radio stations at the time. It was La Mega and it was Latino Mixx at the time. And then it became La Calle. And for a long time, we were dominating the airways with the live broadcast.
Yeah, so people that were not familiar with that, the radio stations used to go to clubs like 10, 11, to start like promoting that there was going to be a big night.
Yes.
And, they were playing the songs from the club to the station. So people would listen, oh, we're here, Coco Bongo is live, and then like that's how people used to just come.
Well, before we had no social media.
Right.
So back then it was either whatever people were finding out from you from flyers, maybe even newspaper ads, or the people that could afford it, which it was radio. Now, radio, obviously, for back in those days, were very high costs.
Yeah.
But it was extremely harder to try to find a way how to get people to come to your space.
Right.
So the marketing was much difficult years ago, because back then you literally had to get up in the morning and go and give out flyers and put posters on the walls, and email blast and do mailer blast as well. So it was very intense. When social media came in, it changed everything, including even how we would spend money on advertising,
promotion.
So yes, that definitely was a game changer for us.
Sure. Like, so what was Coco Bongo's when you got there? Like after Pa Los Rumberos, then Coco Bongo started.
Yes.
You were talking about the radio. How did the business treat you back then? Because you're coming up from another club, you're starting something new. Was it welcoming, or you have some,
At the big, what it is? It was all strategies, and just like simple, man. Scare money don't make money.
True.
And back then, radio was about $7,000 a week, and even today's world, $7,000 a week is extremely high cost. Now you do, $1,500 in ads, and you probably get the same result.
Yeah.
But back then, radio played a very big role. Very risky, because if you have that one promotion, it doesn't do good. Now you actually went negative financially.
Yeah.
So we took big chances, but at the same time, what happened when I accomplished that goal? People started realizing that Elizabeth had, nightlife, and like, oh, wait a minute, if Coco Bongo did it, then I could do it. So what happens is that chance that I took in high costs of operations at that time gave people the confidence that Elizabeth is a hotspot. So that's why it was very easy for me to to get it, to continue the movement going. And now if you look, for example, all throughout Elizabeth, you have great restaurants that have opened up, you have great lounges, you have a few good nightclubs. And nightlife became something very strong here. Also, back then, I also used to do the Colombian Festival, which we used to bring in between 150 and 200,000 people in a single day.
Wow!
So if you want to talk about putting something on the map, nothing gets you more on the map than having thousands and thousands of people coming in from mass transportation to driving into Elizabeth, enjoying our food, our culture, our music.
Yes.
And it was just something that the seeds that I planted back then is what allowed the world, the nightlife that we have today.
That's what I'm seeing, because everybody that I talk to here in Elizabeth, they see you as somebody that showed everybody to work together instead of working against each other.
Listen,
like, where did that come from? Do you see it happening, and how do you come to the conclusion of bringing them together to work together?
Well, look, I'm a fanatic for the way other cultures work. I love if you look at the Jewish community, they all stick together. If one of their members needs money to raise for a business, they all come together and they help that one business up. And I'm a big believer of building things in a form of a pyramid. Because a pyramid, they still stand. Why? Because of the way you structure them.
Right.
Everybody wins, everybody has a shine, but there's a structure that holds solid. The typical mindset is, oh no, I'm gonna do it, I don't need nobody else to do it. Listen, it's better to be a percentage of something than 100% of nothing. And the mindset that we are, and especially a lot of people that come from overseas or the Latin countries, they don't have that culture and
working together
inside of them that says, listen, we could work together
we're stronger together.
And that to me has always been my angle. I think that everybody has a potential. Everybody has a potential to become something. Sometimes what people need is an opportunity. Someone gave me one opportunity, and that opportunity changed my life. And I have changed many lives. So if it worked for me, why couldn't I pass that on? If I want to change, people say, but why Elizabeth? But why not? Elizabeth, every other town, they have their nightlife or they have their restaurants. We could have it all as well. But we just got to learn how to work together as a community. We have to learn how to work together, with our local police department, our local politicians. So they also understand our vision. Because, at the end of the day, the goal here is to get people to work, generate income, so people could have a better lifestyle.
True.
And at the same time, when people have a little better lifestyle, they also take care of where they live.
True.
If you don't give people something to feel proud about, then they're just gonna treat it like it's just garbage.
Right.
And that's what you keep on getting when people feel frustrations, when they haven't been able to make ends meet, when they cannot afford their rent, or when the person just maybe lost their job.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to come together and help out, people that are in need, but also not help as give me you a hand.
Right.
So you can learn. Listen, you teach somebody how to fish, they eat forever.
For sure.
But if you give them food, they're gonna eat once and they're gonna starve.
Right, and that's gonna heal the community and make it stronger. We are in the Mixx, and we're talking to Eddy G, people. I don't know if you know, he's the owner of Barcode. And this club is a state-of-the-art nightclub that when you get in there, you feel like you're in another world. We're gonna get there because right now we're in the story of Coco Bongo. That was one of the clubs that he had before that, and I got him to Barcode.
Yes, Barcode.
Okay, so keep telling me about Coco Bongo. It's very interesting, people. Hey, I'm geeking out.
So Coco Bongo lasted 16 years. I think for a nightlife, it had an amazing run. But just like anything else, look, you could buy the car that you fall in love with, the Mercedes. 3 years from now, you're tired. You might want to get a new car.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as entertainment. People got entertained, they loved it, but they moved on. The 21-year-old that fell in love with it eventually became 30-something. They have kids, they got families.
Right.
Their mindset is not in the party. So what happens? The moment somebody gets older, the new 21-year-old doesn't want to party with their mom party, or with their uncle party, or with their cousin's party. They want to have one of their own. So to me, it was very important to give it its final days and start something new called Barcode.
Right.
And I think the word barcode, it's not a Spanish, it's not English, it's just very generic.
Right.
Because I'm a believer that I don't believe in putting a flag in the front door of your business. Because the moment, like for example, you go to a place and it's called Quisqueya, right? Well, you already know it's Dominican.
Yeah.
So what happens if you're in an area that you're in the melting pot? You're singling only a certain group of people.
You need to be ambiguous.
Exactly. And then that's one of the things that I like to do in my businesses. I like to teach people that there's other opportunities out there. There's other markets, and you cannot close your doors to just one market.
True.
And the way I do business is like one day I could have a very big Dominican event. I could have a Haitian event the day after.
Sure.
I could do an event for networking. It doesn't tie me down, not even to nightlife anymore. Because when Barcode started, it started as a big nightlife venue. And then when I was able to acquire the other properties, my mindset changed immediately. I'm like, wait a minute, let me just be a complex. Let me be a place that's very generic for,
entertainment.
I could do concerts, I could do music festivals, I could do all types of things.
Which is the next logical step after you've been, with clubs, a promoter for many years. You're like, what's the next step?
And nightlife overall has taken a change. You have to understand that when pandemic came around, pandemic forced you to stay home. So when it forced you to stay home, it also forced you to teach yourself how to enjoy other things. Well, perfect example is that before, in pandemic, people found ways how to, let me put on my favorite DJ and let me go buy a bottle and drink in my home with my friends. So now we have to get creative, because if people are coming out spending less, then I have to be able to create entertainment that you cannot download or watch in your TV, which is now we're going to be focusing on the dinner shows. The dinner shows is one thing that I'm putting all my effort into it, because I know how big it's going to get.
I've heard of the dinner shows, but for the people that don't know, explain to them what is a dinner show. And I've been to a couple of very interesting. What are you envisioning for these
all
dinner
types of shows? We could do burlesque shows, we could do musicals, we could do plays.
So it's like you're having a dinner, but there's something happening, like an event, and there's like a...
Yes, but let me tell you where the model works. Typical restaurant, they gotta have, I don't know, all types of product. Let's say you have 30 items on your menu.
Right.
Or you gotta have food for 30 items, not knowing what's gonna sell or not. And the way I'm doing it, it's a prefix menu. So now the moment you buy the ticket, I already know what you're gonna eat.
Okay.
So I'm already changing the way restaurants lose money. Because when do you lose money is when you gotta have all these items, but you're only selling this amount, and then everything else becomes garbage.
Okay.
By doing it this way, is you're not going high in cost in food because you're selling, a dinner show and experience,
right?
But you're already buying from a prefix menu. That's number one. The other thing is that because you're paying for an experience, you're willing to pay the $150, the $200 per ticket, for you and your wife.
Yes, for sure.
Now you both can enjoy a beautiful night.
Right.
So you go to a restaurant right now, it's $250, $300 just to
no
sit
show,
down
with
and
no
no show.
Right.
And that's just for you to sit down and just get whatever.
Right.
So if I could combine an experience into it, then that changes the whole business model. And then it doesn't require for me to have, 3,000, 4,000 people to make real money. I could do real money with only 300-400 people. So that means that it gives me a wider brand of market, because now I'm going after the one that just turned 25. I could go after the 35-year-old, or I could go after the 50-year-old, because of all those ages enjoys watching a show.
For sure.
Versus nightlife, it's really 21 to 30.
Right.
Because that's the majority of people. When you see, once people get to a certain age and they start having family, they meet their girlfriend that they're going to start traveling with, nightlife kind of goes out of their head.
Yeah.
And then you're constantly forced to keep on looking for that new 21-year-old.
True.
Turning it into dinner shows allows me to make money during early hours, and I still have nightlife wide open. So it doesn't change anything. So instead of me right now opening at 10 o'clock at night for nightlife, I could open up at 6 p.m., do a show, do another one at 8 o'clock, and that show finishes, and then reopen my doors at 10 o'clock for nightlife.
Wow.
So it allows you to do multiple things.
I guess this is what keeps you motivated, because after all these years in the business, you might go into something else, or usually people don't last as much. What is that is keeping you motivated to creating these ideas and looking for the next thing? What's the drive of?
I love my city. Listen, I could take my money anywhere else. I could invest anywhere else. I could live anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I choose to do it here because I love the people here. I love the city. I love the people that run the city. I have very good relationships with many people for many years, and I believe that Elizabeth is definitely. Elizabeth is definitely could be the next Wynwood. It could be the next meatpacking district.
Right.
And if you look at all those areas, they were distressed areas that nobody wanted to touch. You couldn't even they were giving away the properties.
Wow.
And all it took was a simple art that people wanted to take pictures in. Then it became a destination.
True.
When it became a destination, it opened up the minds to investors. People started coming in, doing real investments, and now you can even touch that property.
For sure.
Now you can. You go to meatpacking district, your typical rent is at $130, $140 a square foot.
Wow.
Which back then they were giving it away.
Right.
So
right.
when you see those cities that have, betted on the entertainment, the art, and all of a sudden now is the most exclusive areas, then that work was already laid out. We just got to take a model that has worked and work it for our culture. You see, we're in the melting pot. You got Latinos, you got all types of cultures here.
Yeah.
So why do we have to go to other places to enjoy that when we have everything right here? If anything, we have more than anybody else. We're right next to the airport. We're 15 minutes away from New York. You got one of the busiest malls here in Elizabeth.
True.
And if we were able to get the ferry to come into Elizabeth, that's another angle that we have.
That's great.
The idea is to keep putting our city on the map, because when we put our city on the map, it's gonna initiate the investors to come into town.
Yes.
And the idea is to get investors to come in, spend their money, their efforts in building more opportunities for the people in our communities.
True.
Listen, our people are beautiful and they're amazing. We just got to give them an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's all it took. One person changed my life. That's all it takes.
Who was that person that changed your life?
Arnie Boldhart. He's a German man. He's in his 70s now.
What did he do to change your life like that?
He didn't know me. He changed my life without even knowing it.
Oh.
Yeah. When I was 18 years old, I wanted the opportunity to open up my first venue.
Uh-huh.
And we made a deal that to anybody else that would have never happened. And he says, "Hey, look, I believe in you." And that's the reason why I'm here.
Wow.
So when you have somebody believing in you and changing your life, I'm like, wait a minute, let's do that. I could do that with my people, and it's
True.
beautiful to see that. I have many friends that today they own bars that they were my employees.
Wow.
And to me, that's happiness for me.
Inspire
because
them to get into the business.
I gave them the opportunity when nobody else was doing it. And today they have their own businesses. And thanks to that, one of them employs, 30, 40 people. The other one employs another 40, 50 people.
True.
So when you start adding all the people that are now employed by a seed that I planted 29 years ago, you got to remember that seed in today's world is probably transmitted to over 1,000 jobs.
Wow.
Between all places, restaurants, bars, other nightclubs that have opened, people that I have given them pointers of how to run their businesses. So that is how you grow your community, is by creating opportunity, by creating employment, and giving people, light at the end of the tunnel.
True. And we're talking about now that everything is working fine, but I want to get a little more personal. I want to talk about the times where you thought everything was done. Like I was. I think I heard that you lost everything at a club and then you had to start from scratch with nothing. Is that true?
That happened pretty much when it was Coco Bongo. When Coco Bongo at its end, typical mindset, you're always thinking that tomorrow you're gonna make more money.
Right.
And then when business starts taking a decline, and for an example, at the time, I had my houses, typical, okay, I'm making money, I'll just pay the mortgages. And then one day, everything went to a stop. And I almost lost one house. I almost lost the other house. And next thing you know, I have no choice but to figure it out. And then that's when Barco was born. It took me about 3 months to remodel the space. And, it was a home run. We opened up. The first 2 weeks were kind of very slow. I was very worried. I'm like, wait a minute, I just spent all this money and nobody's coming through. And then, we were able to book some big events, and people were like, oh my God, I love the way this place looks.
Yeah.
And now the new young kids felt like that was one of their own spaces now.
Yeah.
Like they were not going to their uncle's friend's place or,
Right.
So they kind of like, it became a place of their own.
Nice.
So that's what allowed that transition to work.
This is, I think what you have done here over the years has changed how the city of Elizabeth nightlife is run. Like you have, I think what your efforts and everything they become what they are today, right? But during that time, is there anybody that you feel that didn't want you to succeed, or they try to stop you, or they made your life hell or something? Like I know in this whole story, there's good times and bad times. But do you feel there were people that were trying to?
Of course.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't even think it's even worth mentioning them. But what I do say is that every obstacle they put in front of me, I beat it. I beat it with hard work. I beat it with love. I beat it with no disrespect. And at the end of the day, you know what it was? You have to remember, when I started, I was 18 years old. When Coco Bongo happened, which is the hottest spot at the time, I was in my early 20s.
Wow.
So you have everybody like, who the hell this kid think he is? Because that's how at the end of the day, I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm 23, 24 years old with one of the hottest places at the time. At 24, most kids don't even know what they're doing with their lives. And I'm already in business with over 50, 60 employees.
Yeah.
So when that happened, obviously, you have the typical inspectors, and you had the typical politicians at the time that, who the hell this kid think he is running this type of a place? But within the years, I showed them that I was mature, that I knew what I was doing. And, they, little by little, it took them to understand what I was doing, for them to have the confidence and say, yeah, you know what, we got to support this guy.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, what am I doing? I'm creating jobs. I'm bringing in business. I'm not trying to cut corners. I'm not going to say that I never cut corners, because, I was young and I was crazy like everybody else. We all have our good times. We all have our difficult times. We all make bad decisions, but we all learn from them.
And you can see it how, when the mayor recognizes the work that you put in. Like, how is your relationship with the politicians and the people of?
Well, we respect each other. We respect each other because, again, most politicians are not a fan of a nightclub. But that's why, I never I never wanted politicians or anybody to look at nightlife in a negative way. Let's be realistic. It creates jobs. It's an industry. Whether maybe they might not like it because we're going to sleep at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, but that doesn't matter. That's an industry. We're paying taxes. We're creating jobs, and most of the people that are getting employed are people from the city.
Right.
So, for example, we're in this beautiful building. These rents are not cheap.
It's nice.
So what do we need? We need good paying jobs so people could afford to live here.
Yes.
We cannot put up big buildings and cripple everybody that generates jobs. And then what happened with these buildings? They're going to be empty. And eventually they go into foreclosure. And if they go into foreclosure, that's the downfall of a city. We have to elevate our city. We have to create jobs. And we have to create opportunity that elevates a city overall, not just one specific industry.
Right.
We have to figure, for an example, we talk about nightlife, right?
Yes.
I've been trying to put together a project that gets nightlife in a centered space. Why? Because when you have people saying, oh, I cannot sleep at night because, this bar is open. Well, that's happening because you guys are approving bars in residential areas. But let's take, for example, a South Beach or these other places. They took one zone, they turned it into hospitality, restaurants, bars, hotels, and everything else. And now they focus everybody in one area. Now it's much easier to control.
Sure.
But now we are able to work with those owners. Maybe at that point, we could, say that maybe this street, we're going to close it between this time and this time, like the way they do in Jersey City, where they have the pedestrians, walking, eating, enjoying all the restaurants, bar hopping. At the end of the day, we're trying to create. It's easier to put everybody from all around the city into one specific area and control that than to have all these bars.
Yeah.
For an example, at 3 o'clock, something happened in one bar, another thing happened at another bar. You got police department driving all over the city.
Yeah.
If you have them in one area, now you can control the whole city.
It's all together.
So it's not about let's look at the negative side. It's look at how we find the solution. So what's negative becomes positive.
Okay.
Because it's very easy to say, oh no, it doesn't work. Let's get rid of it. That's the easy way out.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you're finding a solution to the problem.
Right.
The solution to the problem is to understand the industry, what helps, what doesn't, and what can we do to fine tune it. And whatever needs to be fine tuned in a better way, then we learn from the process. I'm not going to say that every decision will be perfect,
right,
but the idea is to start the process and be able to help businesses grow.
Good. I'm glad that you think like that and things are happening. I have a couple of questions that my producer sent me here. We have this little segment that we call Mixed Questions. Quick questions, quick answers, you know what I'm saying? And it says here, can you tell us who's been in your club, Barcode, like artists or acts, like... This is people asking, so they know. I mean, we have the owner of Barcode here sitting with us,
Well, the owners, I always like to say that the owner is the customer.
Yeah. Okay.
You know why? Because if the customer's not there, what do I got? I just got a building with lights and sound. And at the end of the day, customers are the owners. Celebrities that we have had in Barcode, man, there's so many.
Just so people could, flex.
Bad Bunny, Ozuna, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg. Man, this list.
Everybody and their
No, the list could go for days and days and days.
It's a crazy experience. You should go whenever you have a chance. Please visit Barcode, and then with the dinner shows, it's gonna be crazy. Another question. This is a segment called Mixed Questions because it's in the mix. That's the name of the show. So Oh yeah, they're asking here. How's your relationship with media, and how do you promote now that times have changed? Like you started doing live radio.
Yes.
What are you doing now to promote the club, and what's the spectrum right now? How is the business of promotion for clubs?
Well, listen, in our industry, obviously everything changed. Most of it is social media, digital ads. That's in the one side, but we're also going to start doing like something similar to this, like a live, podcast, talking about all the upcoming events, all the stuff that's happening.
Yes.
If an artist comes through, we want to have a setup within Barcode, so the artist right before he goes on stage, I could have someone like you coming in and interviewing. Maybe it could be you.
Yeah, wait.
And then come in.
Why not? Job.
Well, to me, it's all about creating, future opportunities.
Yes.
And if you look at advertising, the moment everybody does the same thing, then it no longer, it could be the best marketing strategy, but if everybody's doing it, eventually it dies down.
Yes,
so our job is to continue looking for the next opportunity, for what's new, what's fresh, what's trending right now.
Right.
Maybe get on top of, maybe get on that bandwagon because
Okay.
you gotta stay with the trends.
It's crazy. Oh my God! I want to have a couple of more hours with you to ask you more questions, but están haciendo señas por allá, tú sabes, bro. Ustedes saben que Eddy G es colombiano también, ¿verdad que sí?
Bueno, yo he nacido y criado acá, mi familia es de Medellín, Colombia, and my grandfather's from Puerto Rico.
¿Cómo tú hablas español tan así como? Bro, tú pareces un gringo, loco.
Pues hermano, vea, yo me crié en Queens. Todos mis amigos de la escuela eran todos americanos y los de fuera de la escuela eran todos colombianos y ninguno hablaba inglés. So, ¿qué me tocó hacer? Aprender los dos
Mezclar
idiomas.
las cosas.
Mezclar las dos cosas.
Thank you for watching. I'm DJ Chucky, and this is In The Mix. We were here with Eddy G. We'll probably get a part 2. We need a part 2.
You got
All
1,
right?
2, 3, 4, and 5, as many as you want.
How can people find out about you and everything you're doing? Barcode, please give them where to.
Well, listen, my IG's barcodenj.com. I mean, that's our website.
Right.
Also, Eddy G Presents. It's my IG. And listen, just.
Hey, I'm going to follow him right now. See what's up. Thank you for watching. This is In The Mix. I'm DJ Chucky. Bye-bye.